miracle, it will disappear.
So this is the virus segment. Thanks for tuning in to the recorded live thing we're doing right now. But Dr. Virginia and I were both native New Yorkers. We grew up born and raised in New York. But I spent most of my life in the subway. So recently I decided to not do that as much. I didn't want to die taking the subway most of my life. That feels kind of claustrophobic and intense. But I still want to shout out to the MTA that's got me through so many things in my life. Got me to work, got me sleeping there sometimes, got me that it wasn't for the subways, I wouldn't even be here, to be honest. That's what got me to the point of not being able to take the subway. It's because of the subway and buses, So
why do I have this look on my face, Messiah? Would you like to tell the viewers why I have this look on my face?
Oh, about what?
Why do I have this look on my face, Messiah?
I have no idea. Maybe because
why do I have this look on my face?
Are we doing this twice or?
Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
All right. So, we don't have the privilege. Shout out to PJ, Phil. We love you. We don't have the we don't have the help of our wonderful producer. So Messiah's taking it over, and we basically did this entire not live segment already. And he says, and what did you say? What did you say?
Oh, it wasn't recording. I didn't press the record button. Usually when you do Black Power Magic on live, you have to press 6 record buttons. We have to press record on a whole bunch of different websites before we go live for real, like tonight. But when we go for recording stuff, or it's just one button, so I just a whole different program for me. So I totally missed that. If it's not 6 record buttons, then there's no record button. I kind of forgot about it. So, oops.
Yep. I couldn't let you slide with that. Yeah. We had to put that on wax just to let people know, hey, we're not just bullshitting here. We actually, we're working hard to bring this heavy, these heavy hitting topics, and this one is one that's very close to me because of the people that are in my life that are some way, shape, or form affiliated with the MTA in a professional capacity. And so, someone brought this to my attention. One of the viewers, one of the Black Power Magic Hour loyal viewers who watches every single episode, brought this to our attention. We've got a lot of issues with the way that the people that are being treated that help keep the city moving during this whole Rona emergency. Yeah. Our public transportation system here is legendary, but people think of it as, it's the subway system, the trains run, the trains are late, these people making me late for work, fuck these guys. But when you get down to the brass tacks, there are human beings that are running the system. There are human beings who are going outside their homes during a pandemic to help keep the city moving so that other essential workers can get to where they need to get to. The grocery store workers, the doctors, the nurses, and there are probably a whole bunch of other people I don't think about, because I just think about the medical side of the pandemic, and also think about the fact that I'm hungry and thirsty.
Department stores, restaurants, even though they're limited openings, people who keep the delivery men, people who keep the city going.
Absolutely. And the thing is, they get taken for granted, and it looks like their health and safety as far as violent crime is not being taken seriously. So Messiah is going to take us through a couple of articles here, just kind of showing you what the MTA workers were going through prior to the pandemic, and then you have to look at the fact that their situation is even worse than it was before.
Yeah. So I don't know if people were even paying attention. I wish this got more notoriety, but pretty much what happened was there was a memorial for MTA workers that happened that went live, and almost 107 stations. It actually ended on February 7th. It should have been longer, but yeah, it was a
The
long.
pandemic's not over. The memorial should stay up. Probably after the pandemic is over.
Yeah, so they also in plans of having a more permanent permanent kind of memorial for MTA workers. Right now, 140 MTA workers are known to pass away, but we're not really sure. It might be more, because already just with the memorial, there's only 111 people are in the memorial, public memorial, because a few of them want to grieve privately. So you have to imagine that the 140 number might be even larger for people who are too scared. They say they got COVID-19, or it's like, they're worried about other family members losing their work because that family member passed away from COVID-19.
Or they don't want to see that name pop up on the board as they're going into work themselves.
Yeah, every day, so people like writing dick pictures on their face. People don't want that to happen sometimes. But but this memorial is out here for the 111 people who want to be publicly known for dying for COVID-19. And this is like a crazy situation. This happened by mid-April. Over 59 MTA workers already passed away. So you have to think about that timeline. If already mid-April, 59 MTA workers were already passed away, that means that people were already infected, already getting sick a month before, right when the lockdown was happening. So even earlier than that. So this is the situation that MTA workers were dealing with right out the gate, just with COVID-19. Forget the next issue we're going to talk about, which I want to give even more perspective. When it comes to like the physical assault. So we're talking about COVID-19, the biological assault. We're talking about actual like the physical assault that's happening with MTA workers.
Yeah, because people are losing their lives. They're losing their fucking minds. The Rona has just put a lot of people in a really bad mind space.
This article was actually before the pandemic. It's 2019, and this was actually a call. 39%. The assaults went up 39% the following year, 2018, assaults on transit workers. So pretty much this was a huge increase. 120 transit workers assault in that year. I don't even want to get into the numbers that happened during the pandemic, but this was 2019. 120 transit workers were assaulted in different ways. Crazy abuse that was happening. And mind you, while this, I want to put perspective, I want to flip to another article that shows you there was a call. I don't know if people remember what happened with this. It was actually a huge deal in local news in New York City. I remember this. It was like a lot of trans workers were getting assaulted a lot. It was going up, and then there was a call for more MTA workers. Cuomo got into it. Cuomo was like, I'm going to introduce 500 transit officers, and that call happened. And then instead of reducing assaults or reducing mentally ill people roaming the subways, we had this viral situation happen. In the same year that over 120 MTA workers were being assaulted, we had this stuff happen instead. We had NYPD officers arrest a churro. I can't roll my R's. Churro vendor at Broadway Junction.
Come on, we gotta practice though. Gotta practice, man. Gotta get that churro. You get that churro. You gotta get it out, man. Gotta get it out.
So pretty much this happened the same year that over 120 transit workers being assaulted. Instead of dealing with the whatever mental health crisis, homeless crisis that was happening at the city, you had people. We had all these different incidents that happened. I don't know if people remember. It was different ones. You had a group of cops holding up an L train and moving man from the subway system. You had a lot of fare evasion that happened. You had MTA workers drawing guns and punching teenagers. So this is a bizarre article you put in perspective of MTA workers don't want to be assaulted. Instead, they got more cops assaulting other people for a lot of quality of life crimes. And I want to give this a lead of this article.
But if we're honest,
yeah.
Churros, they raise the quality of life. I mean, are you really harming anybody with churros? Come on, come on.
Yeah, that's the reason I want to point about this, the lead, how this article leads. It says, after Governor Cuomo directed the MTA workers to hire 500 new police officers as part of a crackdown on homelessness and quality of life issues 2 months ago, we read an article previously that said the 500 officers will hopefully, maybe protect MTA workers to protect them from being assaulted. But instead, all of a sudden, you have this switch of like crackdown on homeless people and quality of life. Like, what does that even
Well,
mean?
they're trying to protect us from the churros. You know, they don't want us to have a smile on our face underground, because if somebody sees you smiling, then they think that you're soft and you could get got. You know, they're actually looking out for us.
So I don't know if people remember this.
What's going on? Why are you taking her shit away? Why are you taking her shit away? Y'all, she's crying. You're taking her shit away? She's crying.
Step back, man. Just step back.
Can you just like let her keep her stuff?
Oh man, you could just.
Why?
Can you just back up for right now?
What's she doing?
Man, just back now. It's illegal to sell food inside the subway stations, and we warned her multiple times that she doesn't want to give it up. That's it.
Can she just go outside and keep her stuff?
No.
Only thing she's doing is just trying to make a fucking living.
So this is
She's
type
not
of,
bothering anybody. Nobody ever complains
So
about
that's
the Churro Lady. No one ever complains about the Churro Lady. No one.
So I'm going to give that story perspective. That story happened before the pandemic in November 2019. Assaults on transit workers were like 120. So this was what's happening. The officers were doing this stuff. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Well, assaults went way up, even further up, because obviously enforcement is not really helping.
And they needed 5 officers to surround, this woman who's like 4'11". Like, well, what are we doing here?
So I want to share the most recent article about, about now what's the rates of assault now on transit workers now during the pandemic, and it's this stat is unbelievable to me. Seeing it shocks me every time seeing this number. So pretty much this is a new article. They call us heroes, we're protect that hero. So even after we saw that with the Churro Lady, with the pulling guns on teenagers and all kinds of stuff, we still have a call to help. Hundreds of attacks on workers. It's call still happening. The call still happened to help transit workers. It's still happening, even though we had that crazy enforcement that happened before the pandemic. It's still a call to action. This is actually a video here to it. Let's see what they say. Right now it says Mercy. I'm gonna pause Mercy College. So oh no, it's no video. There's no video at all. So let's go to the story. So pretty much, I want to talk about a 61.
I think that was a pre-roll ad.
Yeah, it was a scam to get you to watch the ad about some shitty online college. So this story is crazy to me about this transit worker, Fraser, a 61-year-old man. Last year, August 5th, during the summer, he was working alone around 2 a.m. and a man just came up to him and started like cracking him, swinging the crate at him. He ended up having
And how old was he again? Can we repeat that?
61
years old. We're talking about a year removed, 1 year removed from the old retirement age. And what is he doing at 2 o'clock in the morning? He's cleaning subway stations. We cannot let that part just slide on through.
It's crazy. I mean, and he's being attacked. So he got attacked by some random crazy guy who ended up being arrested. The assailant, they found the assailant because, that kind of stuff, there is no organic food and no kind of like deliberating, whether you can go to vacation in Mexico. It's a felony offense if you assault MTA workers. So you're going under the jail. Like they made that a felony because there's OD at this point,
Yep, they gave the same protections to MTA workers as far as the sentencing guidelines. 7 years. 7 years state time for assault on an MTA officer. I mean, you can't say that they've done nothing. But when you look at what's going on during the pandemic, from what I've heard from some people who are attached to the MTA, they're not even allowed to defend themselves or anyone else. So even though the police are supposed to be there at least as a deterrent to assaults that happen underground, I think someone told me they saw There was a story of an MTA worker who was fired after he came to the aid of a woman who was being assaulted by a male in the subway station, and the MTA worker was fired for trying to defend this woman who was being beaten up by probably somebody twice her size and three or four times her strength.
Yeah.
So, like, what are they supposed to do if they're not even allowed to defend themselves if they are under attack? What the fuck is that?
I mean, it says, the Transit Workers Union records show that bus and subway workers were assaulted, verbally attacked, spat on nearly 900 times last year between August and mid-December. That sounds worse than 2019 when they're arresting teenagers for breakdancing and stuff like that.
They arrested the Churro Lady. She's not bothering nobody. But where the fuck are you when people are getting assaulted and robbed and stabbed and shoved on the train tracks? Where are you then? Because it takes 5 of you to surround, a woman who's 4'13", pushing a small cart, not bothering anybody,
crying and on top of this, like, Fraser lost his daughter in April, a 21-year-old daughter in April to COVID-19.
Yeah, so that's for all you people that are like, well, it's pre-existing conditions in old people. Oh, okay.
And he's still out there
Rona don't care.
Cleaning subways, and he gets attacked August. It's a few months after his daughter dies and gets attacked. His attackers were arrested. Like we said, that when this kind of stuff happens, but that's the thing. Like, it's another issue. Like, they know that to address this is more complicated than sending like SWAT teams with like bomb sniffing dogs out there. And it's the mental health issues, or it's a homelessness issue, it's a drug support issue, substance abuse issues, all these different complicated issues. So that means more boots on the ground. Those type of boots on the ground, along with a combination of law enforcement. So, like, who's going to sit around and think about that? And it shows you the fact that it can be done. I mean, you see cities all over the country doing a similar thing for their small cities. And the MTA system is almost like a city on its own. The public transportation system is on its own. So it's a city on its own. So you need to think about it in terms of how do you manage mentally ill people? How do you manage sick people? How do we protect our workers? And for some reason, they don't want to think about that as hard. They just want to send cops out there to just arrest people dodging fares and stuff like that. So reality is more complicated to protect MTA workers. So I just want to highlight this, like how in 2019 it was a call for more transit officers, and then they tried to bring those officers out there, and ended up being more of quality of life and homeless issues. And then now, you still have a call for more protection for MTA workers, because it's getting.
How I feel about it. How I feel about why the officers aren't there. I mean, even the officers that are assigned to work certain train stations, from what I hear, some of them are just not where they're supposed to be at their posts to protect the transit workers, and even the people who are just trying to enter the subway system without being accosted by robber crews and hungry homeless people who, are looking to find their way into the station, or to try to, a panhandle for money or what have you. There's supposed to be officers stationed there, and where the fuck are they? They're off somewhere else.
Yeah,
I get the feeling that these officers are saying, well, if you want to continue to protest, if you believe that Black Lives Matter, then I'm just going to simply not do my job. And then, see how much you need us? No, you're still getting a paycheck. The only thing that we're asking you to do is to not assault and or murder civilians who pay their taxes, and those taxes that pay your salary. That's all we're asking. We're not saying that we do not need a police force. What we're saying is we want you to do your goddamn job without the excessive force and without the racial profiling.
No, I think it's just way more complicated than like sending armed people into subway platforms and stuff like that. And that's what we're policing, us against them. As soon as they go out there, it's us against them. How are you going to protect anybody already people have that mentality.
Yeah, but they always seem to be there when a woman is selling a snack. But when someone is being assaulted, when a woman is being assaulted, where the fuck are you? When someone's getting shoved on the train tracks, where are you?
Oh, yeah, because there was an issue in Bushwick. I remember there was a guy, this like a serial assaulter in Bushwick, multiple times assaulting people, and like I think he was arrested and he let go again. It was like this a weird issue with that, and so obviously, I mean, like people need it when that stuff happens. And it makes you want to think about what's policing really for in the first place. So that's Black Power Magic Hour. We just want to shout out to all the MTA workers keeping the blood flowing in New York City. They keep the heart pumping in New York City. If they stop, then all that shit about New York City being dead, that'd be true. I mean, if the subway bus stop, that's a wrap. Yeah, it'd be worse than Detroit. At least Detroit, there's big roads. You can drive your Jeep down the potholes. Here, it's like,
Yeah, I just think that, it's important. I'm surprised that we have not had a segment dedicated to MTA workers and everything that they've done to make sure that we get a lot of the essential services taken care of for us. And I just want to say that I do appreciate the MTA workers. Even though I don't use the subway, I still appreciate you and everything that that you do to make sure that the city is an organism, and without certain organelles, the organism would just stop functioning. So I really do salute you, MTA workers out there. Black Power Magic Hour, we haven't forgotten. You're definitely going to get the props you deserve, at least from over here.
Yeah.
And hopefully our message reaches the places that it needs to reach, so that you guys can get the protection and the benefits and the pay that you deserve for being the behind the scenes that keeps the New York City production, keeps that production going.
Yeah, and to help us, act.tv now has over 47,000 subscribers on YouTube. So shout out to everyone, following Black Power Magic Hour, our clips on act.tv and YouTube, and then follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Help us get our stories out. And then Dr. Genius, he's live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. So that's the virus segment. So, woo to the